Right. Good evening, everyone. We are starting the fifth competency today. I told you that it would happen when I go to the paper marking. Even today, I was busy with paper marking. Puta, let me tell you something. I'm going right to the A-level paper marking for a number of reasons. One of the most important reason is I am a teacher who is teaching for A-level students, and A-level students are preparing themselves to face one of the competitive examinations in Sri Lanka. Okay. Therefore, as a teacher, I must know, right? What are the points that they have been changed in marking the paper? Okay. For an example, Puta, in this year, right? They checked, listen to me. I think everybody knows that we have a lesson called public limited companies. Okay. There, in marking the paper, we check whether the student has written the title of the statement without using the abbreviations. It means you can't write the statement of P and L. That has to be statement of profit or loss. And what is the reason they gave us? That title is written according to a standard. Okay, the title is written according to a standard. So that is LKS 1. So if you are following a standard, it is quite sure that you have to follow the directions in it. So standard specifically say you have to write the name of the title of that particular statement. So based on that, it allocated 2 marks. If a student has written the statement as statement of P&L and SOFP, he is not going to get those 2 marks. Okay. So Puta, this is why I am going to the paper marking. Puta, let me tell you, financially, it is a loss for me, right? Paper marking and financial loss. But I'm doing this with that particular understanding. For marking a paper, we are going to get a very less amount. Okay, very less amount. But I'm thinking about the experience, and I am thinking about the students to whom I have to teach. Okay, therefore, I'm going it with that particular idea. So every year, right, they are changing some of the marking, systems in the paper. Okay, good. And today we are starting the fifth competency. Because the fifth competency is accounting concepts. I think everyone has received this particular tutorial on their hand, right? Puta, before that, let me tell you something. Right. Haripute. Accounting concepts. Puta, api mulimma meke liyalemu, right? I think everybody knows the answer for the first one. What are the 2 subfields of accounting? Those who know the answers, they can write it down. Puta. Financial accounting has 2 subfields, right? Financial accounting has 2 subfields, right? They are, right? Give me a minute. Right? Financial accounting has 2 subfields. Palavini eka, right? Metana liyanna. Accounting has 2 subfields. Financial accounting, right? And the next is management accounting. Okay, these are the 2 subfields in accounting. Financial accounting and management accounting. Then Pute, if you can remember, can you recognize a few characteristics of financial accounting? Characteristics. Puta, I'm going to write this down as the first one of mine. First one is, right? Disclose the past transactions and events. Okay, disclose past transactions and events. Okay, then uses and provides financial information only. So in financial accounting, please note that it uses only and it provides only financial information. Okay, it doesn't provide any non-financial information through financial accounting. And the next is next is right? Consider all the stakeholders as audience, right? Consider all the stakeholders as audience. It's another important point. But I want you to write down this last one because of this particular lesson. Right? Regulated, controlled, and regulated by, right, concepts and standards. So these are the 4 things that I'm going to write down here. Putala, metika kamatinang liyaga. No, you can use whatever they like. But the last one is very important. Me antimeka anivaryenma liyan. Controlled and regulated by the concepts and standards. Okay. Then ඊට පස්සේ if you like you can highlight this one. මෙන්න මේක පොඩක් highlight කරගන්න. Highlight this one, right? Highlight concepts and standards. මෙන්න මෙයා පොඩක් highlight කරගන්න. මෙන්න මේ දෙක වචන දෙක highlight කරගන්න. Highlight the term, 2 terms, concepts and standards. Right. Puta, if you want you can note these things down. According to the A-level syllabus, right? According to the A-level syllabus, right? We discuss accounting concepts in competency number, right? මෙන්න මෙයා ගැන අපි කතා කරනවා පුතා in the 5th competency. Right? We discussed about the accounting concepts in the 5th competency. Right? And the standards are also discussed in the A-level syllabus, but that is found in the 11th competency. Right? Competency 5, concepts, and competency 11, accounting standards. Okay. Good. And you have written it. Otherwise, don't be afraid. I'm going to send you the recording too. What I need is just listen very, very carefully. Okay, students? Right. Puta, the next one. Look at this. Special note. According to the A-level syllabus, now we are studying the subfield of financial accounting. Highlight this as well. Highlight කරගන්න. අපි දැන් කතා කරන අපි හැමෝම දන්නවා we are discussing financial accounting. I told you starting from the 3rd competency to the 12th competency, we are discussing financial accounting. Financial accounting. Now I'm going to take out the last point which I have written. What did I tell you? Financial accounting is strictly regulated. Strictly regulated. Highlight karagan. Strictly regulated and controlled by a set of accounting concepts and standards. Right? Accounting concepts and standards. Okay? Accounting concepts and standards. Right? Now, I told you, we are in the 5th competency. Right? I'm going to explain. Don't be afraid. I'm going to explain all the required things related to the standards when we get to the 11th competency. But here I'm going to discuss, I'm going to introduce you with the differences between the concepts and standards later. For the moment, let's recognize what do we mean by the accounting concepts. Puta, then haganna. If I have a highlighter, right? Highlight it like this way. Highlight karganna. Accounting concepts are the generally accepted accounting principles. Highlight karganna. Generally accepted accounting principles. Those have to be highlight karganna, used in identifying and measuring the elements of financial statements. Right? Something very important and powerful. You have to understand it. Puta, then what do we mean by the accounting concepts? Accounting concepts, as it says, generally accepted accounting principles. General principles, those have to be used. They have to be used to do what? To identify and measure what? Elements of financial statements. Pute, what are the elements of financial statements? Monat elements? Assets, liabilities, equity, income, expenses. Right? So these are the elements that we have to use, that we are discussing in the financial accounting. Something very important. So what is the use of, what is the main understanding or the main use of the accounting concepts? They are the generally accepted accounting principles. Those have to be used to do what? Identifying and measuring the elements of financial statements. If you were asked to define, or if somebody asked you, what do you mean by accounting concepts? What it says you have to say. They are the generally accepted accounting principles in financial accounting, right? And they must be used in measuring and identifying the elements of financial statements. Are we clear? Right. Perfect. Pute, I'm asking a question from the class, right? Do you know, I think everybody knows this, right? Pute, have you heard this term? School uniform. Okay. Uniform. Mangana prashnak. Why there is a uniform for the school children in the Sri Lankan context? Can somebody tell me? ඇයි ඉස්කෝලේ ළමයින්ට යුනිෆෝම් එකක් තියෙන්නේ? Can you tell me for that? Okay. Can somebody tell me? මට පොඩි උත්තරයක් දෙන්න බලන්න කවුරු එක්කෙනෙක් පුළුවන් නම් එක්කෙනෙක්. ඇයි අපිට මේ තියෙන්නේ මෙහෙම right uniform, school uniform එකක් තියෙන්නේ ඇයි? Anyone in the class? Okay. Okay, let me share a whiteboard here. පොඩ බලා ගන්න. Right. I think you all can see the whiteboard now. හරි පොඩ්ඩක් අහගන්න හැම කෙනෙක්ම. හරිද? පුතේ අපි දැන් බලමු අපිට මේ යුනිෆෝම් එකක් ඕනේ ඇයි කියන කාරණේ. හරිද? What is the why there is a school uniform for the students? පොඩ්ඩක් අහගන්නකෝ. Let me පුතා stop writing please. Right, මේකේ තුල මුකුත් කරුත් ලියන්න යන්න එපා. මායා ඔමෙත්. I think it is, I know it is ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ මේ normal වෙන දෙයක් වෙන්න ඕනේ. කමක් නැහැ. හරිද? පුතා look at this. පුතේ දැන් හැමෝම අඳිනවා මට අඳින්න බෑ. හරි. පොඩ්ඩක් බලන්න. කොමෙන්ට් පුතේ. මටත් ඇත්තටම දැන් ඇත්තටම මතක නැහැ. මේ මොකද්ද මේ මේක කරන විදිහ ඇත්තටම මට ලොකුවට මතක නැහැ. ඉස්සර නම් මම ඔන්ලයින් ක්ලාසස් කරා. ආයෙ පොඩ්ඩක් ඉගෙන ගන්න ඕනේ. හරි. මම මෙන්න කලර් ස්ක්‍රීන් එකම ෂෙයා කරන්න පොඩ්ඩක් ඉන්න. right අපි මෙතනින් පටන් ගමුකෝ. හරි. පුතේ why there is a school uniform? අපිට school uniform එකක් තියෙන්නේ ඇයි? පොඩ්ඩක් අහගන්න කතාව. හරිද? Putte, the main thing is there is a school uniform not to do anything but to recognize, listen to me, but to identify, but to create a uniformity among the students. Then ඒකෙන් මොකක්ද ඒ කිව්වේ? පොඩක් අහගන්න ළමයි. චුට්ටක් උමනාවෙන් අහගන්න. පුතේ when anybody sees you, right, when anyone sees you on the road, they can easily recognize, okay, he is a school child, right? ඒකට ඒක හොයාගන්න පුළුවන්. හරිද? Then likewise these concepts are designed not to do anything. Look at this one. Highlight this one. පුතා මෙන්න මේක highlight කරගන්න මෙන්න මෙහෙම. හරිද? highlight කරගන්න. This is designed to achieve uniformity and consistency in the preparation and maintenance of financial statements. The concepts are designed to achieve what? Uniformity and consistency in the preparation and maintenance of financial statements. Puta, if there is a uniformity and if there is a consistency only, we can compare the information. Can we ever compare a student in grade 1 and grade 30? No. Why? They are different, right? They are different. So you can compare one grade 13 student with another grade 13 student because there is a uniformity. Then okay, am I clear with you? The main objective is to achieve uniformity and consistency in preparation of the financial statements. Then it says it acts as underlying principles which assist accountants in preparation and maintenance of the right business records. Preparation and maintenance of the business records. Okay. ඊට පස්සේ කියනවා it aims to achieve right a common understanding of rules. Achieve a common understanding of what? Rules and assumptions to be followed by all the types of entities, thereby facilitating comprehensive and comparable financial information. Let me write down something here. I have a right. It is still not working. All right, it's working. පුතා තව වැදගත්ම දෙයක් මොකද? වැදගත්ම දෙයක් මම කියන්නේ. පුතේ always remember that the concepts are applied to all the entities. මේක පුතේ හැම business එකකටම අදාළයි. Right? This applied to all the business entities. මේක ලියාගන්න පුතේ. Applied to all the business entities. MNTs කියලා ලියන්න. Applied to all the business entities. Right? concepts are applied not only for any one business category, it is applied to all the business entities. Right? Let's continue. Okay. On the note එකක් පුතා උමනාවෙන් අහගන්න. පුතා, few minutes ago I explained that in financial accounting we have two things. අපිට දේවල් දෙකක් තියෙනවා. There are two things, right? The first thing is පුතා, right? Accounting concepts. හරිද? It is accounting concepts. Right? මුල්ම එක මම කතා කරා පුතා accounting concepts. And I spoke about another one, accounting standards. Here I'm using this table to explain the differences between the concepts and standards. But this is not covering everything, but for you to understand that there is a difference between accounting concepts and standards. I'm always telling you, okay, right? I'm always telling you, whenever you study something, you should be in a position to explain it to another one, right? Where he or she can understand it. I'm taking much time for you to explain these things. So listen to me very, very carefully, right? If one of your friends asks, okay, do you know what does it mean by, right? I don't understand the meaning of concepts and standards. Then you should be in a position to explain it to them, the difference between those, the concepts and standards to them. Okay, listen to me. They are, I'm speaking about the right accounting concepts here. They are customary and flexible in nature. Okay, it means customary means it is better if you can follow it. If you can follow it, it is customary and flexible in nature. Flexible in nature. But accounting standards, they are the uniform rules. They are the uniform rules and rigid in nature. They are very strict. You can't go beyond those standards. You can't go beyond those standards. On the other hand, do you know, standards are prepared. May standards keneke hadune menna mehemai. Harida? Now we have the concepts. Here we have the concepts, right? Concepts are it is as I told you previously, they are the things, generally accepted principles that must be followed, okay, in presenting and preparing the financial statements. But do you know, in presenting the financial information and the reports, it generated, right? It generated some problems. Some, they have not been answered before. While the business is keeping accounting, it creates kind of issues, right? And those issues, right, were answered by the standards. Issues were answered by the standards were prepared to upgrade the financial accounting. I think most of the students, right, maybe a few, are interested in the game of cricket. Do you know, in the game of cricket, there are, it is an international game now. There are 10 ways where a batsman can be given out in cricket. Those who know, they can think. There are 10 different ways. Roughly bowled, wicket ball. Caught, make it caught behind the stumps and any catch right in the field. Then LBW, hit wicket. It was a run out. It was obstructing the field. Then the next one, hitting the ball twice. Did you know them? Right? And then stump. And a timeout. There's another one, timeout. Angelo Matthews out recently. Angelo Matthews out to explain. The 10 ways of where a batsman can be given out is symbolizing concepts. The other rules, general rules. And do you know, recently, few years ago, in the game of cricket, it develops a few things. What are they? DRS system. Make a DRS can a decision review system. But now it isn't, right? It is kind of a, right, amendment in the cricket game of cricket. Right? That means if there is a doubt in the player regarding the decision made by the umpire, right? He can request the assistance of the third umpire. අපි කියනවා DRS system. පුතා, now the DRS system was developed, right, to standardize these rules. හරිද? මේ ටික හදන්න තමයි ඒක දුන්නේ. So always remember, accounting standards are developed in a way to provide more logical, right, and practical background for the subject of accounting. Are we clear? Perfect. Apa ඊළඟට. It offers ඊළඟ බලන්න. It offers liberty to follow various methods. Something very important. පුතා, accounting concepts is giving you the freedom. Liberty can freedom එකක් දෙනවා. To follow various methods. Various methods, right? So they don't stick to a certain method. It allows you to follow certain methods. But do you know something? When there is a standard, you can't follow anything out of the standard. That has to be followed what is there inside the standard itself. Okay, you can't go beyond them, right? Although there are some other methods, you can't use them. That's what I told you. It is rigid in nature. Rigid. You can't change it. Whether you don't like it, you can't change it. Okay? It is less responsible to compared to accounting standards. Okay, less responsible. Because there is a liberty, right? There is a freedom, right? You can use your own ways. But when it comes to accounting standards, the main objective is to previously I told you, accounting concepts are used to identify and measure the accounting elements. The main objective of the accounting standards is to correct the measurements and disclosures. Concepts are developed to identify and measure, right? And standards are developed to correct any measurement and correct any disclosures. I think everybody can understand. Okay? And it creates more responsibilities. Anyone who's right IAs and AKAs right after doing their A-levels, if some of your even if your relative, if they are working in here, බලන්න මේව අහලා තියෙනවද කියලා, audit firm අහලා තියෙ කියලා මං හිතනවා. Okay, audit firm. Okay, පුතා, sorry, FIRM, right? FIRM. Ask them. This is what they do there. They check whether that entity has followed the accounting concepts. Accounting standards, not the concept, standards. Okay, so following a standard is a responsibility. Okay, following a standard is a responsibility. Remember that. So these are the differences between accounting concepts and standards. But can I get a small feedback? Do you understand the lesson so far? Mata podi chat eකට messages ටිකක් එවන්න තේරිච්ච අය. Right? තේරිච්ච අය podi message එකක් දාන්න ටක් ගාලා. Anyone? Right, Binuka? Okay. Okay, Susar, Niyamai. Okay, Susar, very good. Okay, okay, Pute, very good. Right, Omid, Hari. Right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let's move to the next one. Api lagi katiya. Page number 2. Onnati no very. Puta, these are the concepts that we have to study and master according to the advanced level syllabus. Count and see, right? How many concepts are there? There are 13 accounting concepts. Accounting unit මම මේක පිළිවෙලට දාගෙන යන්න, right? Accounting unit මම මුලින්ම කතා කරන මෙන්න මෙයාව. හරිද? I'm discussing about accounting unit here concept. This is going to be number 1. And going concern is the second concept, number 2. Periodicity, number 3. Money measurement, number 4. Accrual concept, number 5. Realization, number 6. Matching, number 7. Historical cost, number 8. Prudence, number 9. Materiality, number 10. Substance over form, number 11. Full disclosure, number 12. And consistency, number 13. My target is to provide you with every single thing that is required for you to know regarding the concepts in here. And I'm using these 2 weeks to do that. In this tutorial, I'm discussing just a few concepts, right? Let me tell you, they are the major concepts, right? But for all the other things also, I'm continuing the same method. Let's move to let's progress with the competency. Right. Business entity concept. Those who can remember, I explained this. I discussed about the accounting unit concept. In competency 1, when I was explaining the subject of accounting, I introduced this concept to you. Accounting unit or business entity. Here, it is an extension for the competency. Business entity concept states that, highlight it, please highlight, states that the business is treated as a separate and distinct entity from its owners. Okay, for the purpose of accounting, listen to me very carefully. This particular concept is applied only for the accounting perspective. For the perspective of accounting, business is treated as a separate and distinct entity from its owners. Accordingly, according to this concept, right, business and the owner are 2 separated entities. Okay, business and the owner are 2 separate entities. But there is something very important. This is only for the perspective of accounting, right? Have you heard this word before? Legal personality. Have you heard this term? Anyone in the class? Legal personality. What does it mean? Legal personality and the business entity are 2 separated theories. 2 separated theories, right? Because accounting unit or business entities applied to all the business organizations, and it is from the accounting perspective. Business entity concept is recognized from the accounting perspective, but legal personality is from the legal perspective. Now, what does it mean by legal personality? That means in front of the law, if a business organization is recognized as an artificial person, that business organization is recognized as a business which has a legal personality. For an example, public limited company is a business organization with a legal personality. But sole proprietorships and partnerships, they do not have a legal personality. But listen to me. Accounting unit concept is applied to every single business organization. I repeat, it is applied for sole proprietorships, partnerships, non-profit organizations, PLCs, name organization. This concept is applied. Okay, good. Therefore, look at the next one. Therefore, the personal transactions of the owner kept completely separate from the business transactions. Something very powerful. personal transactions of the owner are kept completely separate from the business transactions. ඒ කියන්නේ ඕනගේ transactions උයි business එකේ transactions උයි කවමදාකවත් පැටලගන්නේ නැහැ. Kept completely separate. highlight කරගන්න. Completely separate. Completely separate. Okay, good. Next. According to the business entity concept, the business and its owner are considered separate accounting entities, and something very important. Then අහගන්න. දැන් මෙතන දෙන්නෙක් ඉන්නවනේ. Business එක තියෙනවා. We have the business and we have the owners. So in accounting, which perspective we use? We always use the business's perspective. This is what I'm explaining here. According to the business entity concept, the business and its owners are considered as separate accounting entities, and only business transactions are recorded in the books of accounts. Owners' transactions are not recorded. Owners' personal transactions are not recorded. Puta, listen to me. This is A levels. This is not O levels. Right? I don't want to ask you to write if you do not know something. If you hear something for the first time, you can write it down close to that particular note. Okay, great. But let's see there. We are moving to the next one. Why, right? Or the importance of the business entity concept. මේ concept එක වැදගත් වෙන්නේ ඇයි කියන කාරණේ බලන්න. Put the first one. This concept is the foundation of accounting. Highlight කරගන්න පුතා. It is the foundation of accounting. Because it ensures what? Accurate measurement of profit or loss. Accurate measurement of profit or loss. Puta, how is it possible? Puta, here we don't record the personal transactions of the owner. So you are recording only the transactions related to the business. So you can easily recognize the accurate profit of the business. Got it? The next one. This business entity concept, accounting unit concept helps you to reliable determination of assets, liabilities, and equity. Shall I tell you something? Because of this concept, Puta, owner's personal assets are not recognized as the assets of the business if he has not invested that in the business. That personal car is never recognized as an asset of the business. But if he invests that as a capital in the business, now the business can recognize that motor vehicle as an asset. Okay. On the other hand, owner's personal bank loan is not recognized as a liability of the business. Once again, it's an application of the business entity concept. Why? Owner's personal liabilities are not recognized as the liabilities of the business. Right. Fair presentation of owners, investors, creditors, and tax authorities. Fair reporting to. Puta, this is something very important. Here, I repeat, we record only the business transactions or the transactions relevant to the business. We don't consider the personal transactions of the owner. So, you have to understand, then definitely it is providing a fair reporting. Fair reporting. The next, comparability and consistency of financial statements. Right? Comparability and consistency. Puta, these accounting concepts always helps you to develop comparability and consistency of financial statements. Okay, good. Without this concept, if we collect all the information of the owners and the business, financial statements would be meaningless. Why? It has both owners and businesses transactions. How can we measure the true profit or loss of the business? I think everyone is listening. I'm explaining something very, very useful and right powerful. Okay, but let's move to the next one. Right? That is key principles of the business entity concept. Key principles. Right? The key principle, owner is considered as an external party. Owner is an external party. Then business, I told you business has a separate existence. Therefore, the business has its own assets. Own assets, liabilities, income and expenses. Okay? Business ekataiti assets, liabilities, equity, income and expenses. Owner is recognized as a separate entity. Got it? Understood? Let's continue. පුතා මම මෙතන ගොඩක් මට ඇත්තටම පුතේ මම මේක මේ බොහොම ආසාවෙන් හදපු ටියුට් එකක්. මොකද මම දන්නවා මේක එහෙන කම්ප්ලීට් කියලා. So I had to go through number of books, right? Number of books. Sometimes I had to go through. I read Sinhala right books. මොකද අපිට ගොඩක් English books අපේ Sri Lankan context A levels වලට අඩුයි. හරිද? So I had to go through number of Sinhala books and to translate that into English. And I had to refer some of my notes in the university, right? So in developing this particular note, it's a very good note. I recommend it. So please listen to me very carefully. With excuse. Right. Haripute. Let's continue. I'm going to describe different types of applications. මෙතනම applications 9ක් හොයාගත්තා. තව තියෙන්න පුළුවන් මොදේ. But try to get the understanding. මේකේ meaning එක පොඩ්ඩක් ගන්න. මේකේ මොකක්ද කියන්නේ කියන එක. හරිද? Right. බලන්න පළවෙනි එක. Example. Separation of business and personal transactions. පුතා, here we do not consider the personal transaction. මොකද explanation එක බලන්න. Only the transaction related to the business are recorded. Okay, then owner's personal income, expenses, assets and liabilities are ignored. I told you this before. Owner's personal loan is never recognized as a liability of the business. Then, point, something very important. Personal expenses of the owner should not be charged to the business. Let me tell you something. Let's say, I'm explaining this point, okay? I'm explaining this point. Look at this. Right? There is a business, and in that business, owner's personal rent. Right? Maybe the demo. Owner's personal rent. Give me a minute. Right? Owner's personal rent. Right? Personal rent. Rupees 10,000 has paid by the business. Then should this be recognized as an expense of the business? Never. Why? This is a personal expense. What if, listen to me, what if the business settles this? But always remember, although the business settles it, it never become an expense of the business. Then how the business recognizes it? Business recognizes this 10,000 as a drawing of the owner. It is never recognized as an expense, but it is recognized as a drawing or negative equity. Understood? Perfect. Let's move to the next one. Second point. Capital introduced by the owner, right? Capital introduced by the owner, is treated as equity. අහගන්න පොඩ්ඩක්. Capital introduced by the owner is treated as a liability or equity of the මම දැන් මේ එකක් පාවිච්චි කරා liability කියලා වචනයක්. Do you know මම මෙහෙම දෙයක් කියලා දෙන්නම්. In the statement of financial position පුතේ, right, we record the equity closer to the liabilities. Right? අපි ඉස්සර ඔකට වචනයක් තිබ්බා equity was also called as internal liability. Now we don't use it. හරිද? Anyway, it is a type of a liability from the business's viewpoint. Why? Business is liable or responsible to settle to the owner. That is how the capital introduced by the owner becomes an equity. Okay. Second point, the owner becomes a creditor of the business. I just want to explain it, right? Although he is the owner, business recognizes the owner as a liability, a creditor. It recognizes the business as a creditor, liability. Therefore, capital is not identified as an income of the business. Because of that reason, right? Although once the owner introduces capital, it increases the equity, it is not recognized as the income. When I was defining income in the third competency, I told you that income can be increase in assets or decrease in liabilities, resulting in increase in equity, other than those contributions of the equity participants. Are we clear? Hari? Right? So it is because of this one. Put out the third point. Withdrawal by the owner are treated as drawings, not as expenses. I repeat, withdrawals by the owner are treated as drawings, not expenses. Drawings is not recognized as an expense. Drawings, let's say it's a cash drawing, it decreases assets cash, but it is not an expense. Why? Because of the application of the accounting unit concept. It is a personal transaction of the owner. Okay? It's a personal drawing of the owner. It is not an expense of the business. Understood? Let's continue. Puta, owner's salary, rent and interest. මම point එක දුන්නේ පොඩක් හොඳට අහගන්න තමයි එක පට ඉස්සරහට මට ඕන වෙනවා. There is a lesson called partnerships. මම එක දැන් මේක පොඩ්ඩක් දිහා බලා ගන්න. Payments to the owners are allowed only if agreed. Okay? මම එක partnerships වලදී ලස්සට කියලා දෙන්නම්. හොඳ දැනට මතක තියාගන්න. If there is an agreement of the partners to make such a payment, the payment are allowed. But listen to me very carefully. Such payments are treated as appropriation of profits. There is an owner of the business, and the owner is the person who manages the business. Then he has decided to receive a salary for that particular management. That salary is not an expense, because it is his personal salary. So he is taking out the salary as an appropriation of the profit. So in other words, he is using the salary to withdraw the profit out of the business. Although the term is salary, it is not an expense of the business. I am clear with you? Okay. Ilangika. Owner is not an employee of the business. Understood? Understood, Putha? Right. I move to the next one. Business assets used personally by the owner. If the owner uses business assets personally, it is treated as drawings. Putha, මම කියන දේවල් හොඳට අහගන්න. හරිද? අපි හිතනවානේ දැන් accounting equation කියන එක ලේසි කියලා. හරිද? No, it is not. Right? Shall I tell you something? This time in this year, right? None of the student අපිට පැනල් එකේ කිසිම ළමයෙක් accounting equation එක full marks ගත්තේ නැහැ. හරිද? I'm speaking the truth. මම ඇත්ත කියන්නේ මේ හොඳේ. මම වට මේ කියන්නේ සහතික ඇත්ත. හරිද? None of the students obtain the full marks for the accounting equation lesson. Question. Hari. හේතු මොකක්ද කියලා පස්සේ ඉගෙන ගමු. හරිද? The reason is they have tested all these things. This time, do you know, they gave not a sole proprietorship. They gave the accounting equation to a partnership. Sorry, to a PLC. කොහොමද ගන්න? It can be very well applied. Okay? පුතේ ඊළඟ එකට. Business debts and owners personal debts. ආගන්න. Business is liable only for the business obligations. හරිද මං කිව්වේ? Owners personal loans are not business liabilities. පුතාට මතක නම් මම ඔක ලස්සනට කතා කරා accounting equation කියන පාඩේ මතකද? I told you that the owner has taken a personal loan and he has decided to invest 50% in the business as capital. If you read, that's what I told you. If you record that loan in the business, that is incorrect. Because it's a personal transaction of the owner. But so what has to be recognized as a transaction of the business? That 50% invested in the business as the capital by the owner. That is what we have to recognize. See, legal form does not matter. This I told you. Legal form is put on legal. Here the legal form means legal personality. It does not matter. This concept applies to sole proprietorships, partnerships, incorporated companies, and every business organization. For your records, sole proprietorships and the partnerships do not have the legal personality. Still, it applies the accounting unit concept. But incorporated companies, there is a legal personality, and to that also, the accounting unit concept is well applied. Okay, great. And the last one, determination profit or loss. Profit is calculated only from the business activities. Owners' personal income and expenses are excluded. Profit reflects the true performance of the business only. Okay? Are we clear? Here, I have just given you one of the best explanations related to the accounting unit concept or business entity concept. Okay? And a small feedback, children. Do you understand what I explained in the accounting unit concept? The class, I need a small response from the class, children. Amit, understood? Setika, Binuka, Amit, Sayundi, Ayodhya. Understood? Right. Perfect. Perfect. Hari. Okay. Thank you so much, Pata. Thank you so much. Highly appreciate it. Let's move to the next one. We are moving to the next concept. That is going concern concept. Going concern concept. Harida. Going concern concept. Abbalam. Agana pundak. Pute. Here, the going concern concept means, Hari, the going concern concept assumes that Harida, business will continue its operations for the foreseeable future. Foreseeable future. What does it mean? What do you mean by this term foreseeable future? That means business has no intention to liquidate or close the business activities in near future. It means the business continues. I'm agree with you. Business continues. Anivaryam business continue. Right? Highlight karaganna. Foreseeable means penina taran durakata. I read the content again. Going concern concept assumes that the business will continue its operations for the foreseeable future and has neither the intention nor the necessity to liquidate or significantly curtail its activities. Padiri, Harida, right. Let's move to the importance of going concern concept. Give me a minute. Harida. Right. Abalampute. Importance of the going concern concept. Palavineka. This concept affects how, listen to me, assets and liabilities are measured and presented. Something very important. So going concern is, right, most powerfully applied on assets and liabilities, how they are measured and how they are presented. Okay. Puta, if a business is not a going concern, right? If a business is not a going concern, assets must be valued at the realizable or liquidation values. Here the term realizable means it's market price. Market price. Generally, it is told that the asset should be disclosed on its cost. But whenever the business is not a going concern, it means if the business has an intention to liquidate the business or close down the business, assets should not be appeared at its cost. Next, long-term liabilities becomes current liabilities. Why? Business has no going concern. Then depreciation policies change and financial statement must carry specific disclosures. Why you are going to liquidate the, when you have planned to disclose, liquidate the business, you have to come up with several disclosures. Okay, understood? Right. Going concern means that. What do you mean going concern? Business, it's an assumption which says business will continue its operations for the foreseeable future. Foreseeable future. Okay, let's continue. Puta. He also have used a key principle. Business continues normally now. Uses historical cost. It uses historical cost and normal depreciation related to the assets. But is the business likely to close down or liquidate? It uses net realizable value and liquidation values. I repeat, if the business is not a going concern, you can't disclose anything at its cost. You have to recognize the realizable value of it. You have to get the liquidation value. Liquidation is the same thing. Liquidation values of the information. The two key principles. Puta, let's move to the applications. Valuation of non-current and non-current assets. This particular the concept of going concern helps you to value the current assets. How? Let's see. Assets are recorded at historical cost less depreciation, not at resale value. This is valid only because the business is expected to continue. Assets are recorded at its cost and is required to be depreciated. Why? Right? These assets are expected to be used more than one accounting period in the future. Right? That means the business is a going concern. Application. Second, depreciation on fixed assets. This example is coming again in another concept. Depreciation on fixed assets. Assets are depreciated over their useful life. As you know, useful life means business is planning to run its activities over a several period of time. Okay. The next is, if the business was closing right? Depreciation would be irrelevant. Assets would be written down to realizable, because after this year, if the business is planning to wind off, right, there is no use to record it as the BCD. There is no use for you to depreciate it. This is how depreciation on fixed assets is influenced by the going concern concept. My next example, classification of assets and liabilities. Assets and liabilities are, how do assets and liabilities are classified? How the current and non-current. And that is classification is there only if the business is a going concern. Otherwise, what is the purpose of classifying the assets as non-current? What is the purpose of classifying the liabilities as non-current if there is no going concern? Understood? Perfect. Recognition of the NRV. මේක මේ හරියට තේරුම් ගන්න මෙතන තින්නේ NRV එක හොයන විදිය නෙමෙයි. right? හොයන හෙව්වට පස්සේ මොකක්ද කරන්න අහගන්න. I think, do you know the meaning of NRV? Anyone in the class? අමේතින් NRV means පුතා net realizable, මම ඒක පස්සේ කියලා දෙන්නම්. NRV. පුතා, NRV is the expected selling price of the inventory. Now, expected means what? It has not been sold. So the business has a going concern. Within that period, we are planning to sell the inventory at that amount. That's what you mean by expected selling price. Okay, children. Perfect. Recognition of the provision for future period. Recognition of provisions for future period. As a provision of warranty. Warranty එකක් දෙන එක හිතන්නකො පුතේ. හරිද? As a provision for warranty or provision for compensation is paid, that means the business operations will continue in the future. From the business's viewpoint, let's say, think about this. I have a mobile phone business and you all are my customers. Whenever I sell a mobile phone, I'm giving a warranty. What do you mean by giving a warranty? In the next year, if something happens to your phone, I'm going to repair it at my cost. I can do it because I have there is a going concern in my business. Understood? Perfect. Measurement of trade receivables. Trade receivables are recorded at expected collectible amount and not at immediate cash collection value. You are recording the trade receivables at cost. Okay. Recognition of accrued income and expenses. Accrued means it is relevant to the period but not received. But anyway, we can receive it in the future. That means the business has a going concern. Outstanding income, expenses as also the same. This assumes future periods will exist to match the income and expenses. It means we have no intention to close down the business in this year. We can collect it or we can pay it in the future. This is how the accrued income and expenses is influenced by the going concern concept. Okay, the last, next is use of accrual accounting. Accrual basis accrual basis itself depending on going concern. Accounting, right? Accrual accounting loses relevance if the business is winding up. It means what is accrual pute? Relevant to the period but not received or paid. We can receive it or we can pay it in the next accounting period. Are we clear? Right. Niyamai. Ilangekata yampuda. Ona tungani concept එක. Before we move to the next one. Do you understand this concept, the going concern? Lamai mana podi feedback එකක් දෙන්න. Do you understand the content of the going concern? Lamai. Understood? Okay. Niyamai පුතා. Niyamai. Okay, then ඉතින්. අපි මේ ළඟකට. Remember the third concept of the day, periodicity. Periodicity. Puta, let me check whether we can draw it. පුළුවන් වදින්න. හිතන්නකෝ දැන්. හරි? දැන් මෙහෙම පොඩි එකක් ගමුකෝ. පුතා let's say අපි කලින් concept එක මොකද්ද? Going concern නේ. What did we assume? Business will carry on its activities in a foreseeable future. දැන් කොහොම නෙවෙන්න ඕන එතකොට. හරිද? It means there is no closing date. There is no closing date. When the going concern concept is applied, there is no closing date. Then we have a problem. What is the problem? අහකට පුතා problem එක. හරිද problem එක අහගන්න. The periodicity concept, also called as the time period concept, states that the life of a business is divided into artificial time periods. Artificial time periods. I repeat, the life of the business means that going concern life. Foreseeable future. දැන් මේ තමයි මේ අන්දේ පුතේ foreseeable future එක. මේ තමයි අර මම කලින් කතා කරපු foreseeable future. Okay? Foreseeable future, right? In order to, why we need to introduce artificial time period? In order to measure profit and financial position. හරියට කරගන්න පුතා. We develop this particular period to measure what? Profit and the financial position at the regular intervals. Okay? දැන් උදාහරණයක් කියන්න දායි. අපි මෙන්න මේ period එක equal parts වලට බෙදනවා. හරිද? Right? And we give, right? අපි මේ recognize කරන මේ එක period එකක් මම කියනවා මෙන්න මේකට මම කියනවා accounting period කියන. Accounting period. Then what can I do? I can recognize the income and expenses, right, among this period. I can recognize the assets and liabilities as at this date. That is the artificial time period. Something very important. පුතා මෙන්න මේකත් අහගන්න. හොඳට අහගෙන යන්න මේ හැම දෙයක්ම අහගන්න. පුතේ, right? This period may be 1 year. හොඳට අහගන්න. Sometimes this accounting period can be a half year. And sometimes the accounting period can be a quarter. Sometimes it can be a month. මම පොඩි කතාවක් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට කියලා දෙන්නම්. Can you remember in the paper class, in the previous paper classes, I gave you accounting equations. Sometimes it was covering a month period. Recently, I gave you a question. In that equation, the period is a quarter. Quarter kenapute masa tunai. Understood? Sometimes puta, right? It available some questions, and that is considering the period just for 6 months, half an year. And most of the time, it is, right, an year. Puta, it's very important for you to understand the relevant period before you answer any question. හරිද? බොහොම කල් මම එකයි කියු පුතා. දැන් මේ concepts අපි ඉගෙන ගමු. ඊට පස්සේ මම පුතා ගානක් හදන්න කලින් මුලින් බලන්නේ මොකද්ද? What is the period that it covers? Something very important. You can't record, right, the rent of an year if the period is a quarter. You convert that yearly rent to quarter. Okay, Pute? Understood? Right. Let me explain the importance of periodicity concept. What is the importance of the periodicity concept? In reality, business may continue for many years. Understood? None of the businesses, none of the owners have an intention to close down any of the business once it is started. That is their wish to continue the business. But users of financial statements cannot wait until the business closes to know the performance. Even if you are the owner, can you wait until the business is closed to get the results? No. Then what is it? We have to measure the profit period by period. Profit එක අවුරුද්දෙන් අවුරුද්දට හොයාගන්න වෙනවා. And financial position is reported at the end of every period. This is why the periodicity concept is important to a business. I told you it is divided into artificial time period. Foreseeable future is divided into artificial time period. Got it? Okay, great. Hari. Api palleyata. Core idea in simple terms. Pute agan. If the business life is continuous, accounting solution is divide it into accounting periods. Okay. Profit known only at the closure. You can estimate the profit each period. Understood? I can lazy there. To get to know if you want to know the profit, divide that foreseeable future into equal parts and recognize it as an accounting period and measure the results for that particular period. Okay, good. Let's move to the examples. Examples. Pute, measurement of periodic profit or loss. Agan. Income and expenses are matched to a specific accounting period. Always remember, we recognize the relevant income of the period and relevant expense of the period to determine the profit. Next, accordingly, the profit of the year reflect the performance of that year only. If you recognize the incomes and expense of that particular period, that reflects the performance of that particular year only. Next, accrual expense. Accrual expense, outstanding expenses. Expenses incurred in the period are charged even if they are not paid. Let's say that your house has received the electricity bill for the month, but you have not paid it. But remember, it does not say as you have not paid, it is not an expense. It is an expense, but you have failed to make the payment. Although you have not charged, it is an expense if it is relevant to that particular period under consideration. And without periodicity, this adjustment would be unnecessary. Let's say there is no periodic concept. There is no reason for you to apply it. You can pay it later. Accrual of income or accrued income. Income earned during the period is recognized even if the cash is not received. I repeat, if it is satisfying the definition of income during the period, that has to be recognized in the period. It doesn't matter whether the cash is collected or not. All these applications of the periodicity concept. Prepaid expense, you can understand it. Expenses paid in advance are allocated for future periods. It is paid in the current accounting period, but relevant to a future period. Application of the periodicity concept. Unearned incomes, same thing. Income received in advance treated as a liability. You have received income, but it is relevant to a future period. Future period. Once again, the periodicity concept. Depreciation of assets, non-current assets. This point was given as an example for going concern, and here also. Look at this. Cost of the asset is spread over accounting periods. Periodicity concept. Periodicity concept. This ensures each period bears a fair share of cost. This ensures each period bears a fair share of cost. Understood? Next is recognizing the cost of the closing stock. Closing stock is used to identify the cost of sales and the profit of the period. You recognize the closing stock of that period. That helps you to determine the cost of sales of the period and the profit of the period. See how the right applications are there. Carry forward balances to the next accounting period. Assets and liabilities at period end becomes opening balance of the next period. I told you this previously. In the third comes, I told you, balance carried down of an account becomes the BBF in the next accounting period. Why? The periodicity concept. This creates continuity of between accounting periods. In 1 year BCD, in the next year it is BBF. Got it? Right. Last application, preparation of periodic financial statements. Preparation of financial statements related to just to that period. Whatever the period it is relevant to the period under consideration. Harida? Right. Hari. My පුතාට පාඩම තේරුණාද කියලා බලන්න. Can I get a small feedback? Do you understand the third concept, periodicity? Terichaya? Right, Binuka. Perfect. Okay, Ayodhya, Binuka, Vidul. Okay, පුතා. නියමයි. Let's continue. පුතේ මං යන ඊළඟ concept එකට. ඒ තමයි right තවත් superior concept එකක්, money measurement concept. පොඩ්ඩක් ඉන්න. හරි. ඇත්තටම මේ දවස් ටිකේ හරි මහන්සි because I have the paper marking in the Royal College Colombo. උදේ යන්න ඕනේ තන්ට 7:30 වගේ වෙද්දි යන්න ඕන. ඉතින් ඉස්කෝලේ යනකොට වඩා කලින් නැගිටින්න වෙනවා. හරි. ඊට පස්සේ ගිහිල්ලා ලේසි නෑ පුතේ. මොකද සමහර දරුවන්ගේ උත්තර අපි හරියටම බලන්න එපේ. පවුනේ ළමයි. So සමහරවගේ අකුරු එහෙම කියවනවා, ඒකත් මාරමම ගේමක්. හරිද? එන ලොකු ගේම් එකක්. But anyway, I'm doing it with, I told you, I have right some intentions in my mind. Okay, because as a teacher, I have to always provide you with the good product. නිකන් කරන්නම් වාලේ කරලා හරියන්නේ නැහැ. So I have the මගේ ඉස්කෝලේ දරුවන්ටත් මම මුලින්ම පෙන්නන මේක. ඊට පස්සේ මම ටියුෂන් ක්ලාසස් වලට රාගෙන මගේ මාකින් ස්කීම් එක. හැබැයි ඒකේ සමහර දේවල් මම ඔකට කියන්නේ නැහැ. Right? Because we consider those things just to give you the marks, but that is not correct. ඒව නිවැරදි විදි නෙමෙයි, නමුත් ලකුණු දීම සඳහා අපි ඒක පාවිච්චි කරනවා, හරි විදිහට ගන්නවා. Okay? So these days I'm a bit tired, right? ඇත්තටම මාර මහන්සි. එහෙම තමයි ආසාවෙන් කරද්දී එහෙම තමයි වැඩේ වෙන්න ඕනේ. But anyway, මම පුතාලට මේක කිසිම දවසක මේ සති දෙකේ මම ඔයාලට කිසිම පාඩුවක් වෙන්න තියන්නේ නැහැ. I'm going to cover both the sessions. Right? I'm going to count them. I will not conduct this session in the theory class again. Right? කවුරුත් මේකෙන්ද කිසිම වෙලාවක මේක නැති කරගන්න එපා. හැමෝම පන්තියට එන්න. අපි නම් continue කරමු පුතේ. We are moving to the fourth competency, that is money measurement. Money measurement. What does it mean? The money measurement concept states that only those transactions and events that can be measured in monetary terms are recorded. Once again, what does it mean? Right? මොකක්ද එකකින් කියන්නේ පුතා? Right? එකකින් කියනවා මෙන්න මෙහෙම දෙයක්. හරිද? Right? It says in financial statements, in financial accounting, you can record only the transactions and events that can be measured in monetary terms. Now think about this way, Puta. There is a business, okay? There is a business, and in that business, there is one experienced manager. Harida. Ek manager kenek innawa, okay, that he is immensely experienced. But we have a problem. Can we measure the experience in a monetary value? We can't. Therefore, the management skills, the experience of managers, experience of employees cannot be disclosed in financial statements. Why? Because of this concept, money measurement. It states only the transactions and events with a monetary value can be recorded in the accounts. හරිද පුතා? තේරුණාද මං කියන දේ? නියමයි. පුතා, in Sri Lankan context, it means the transactions is measurable in what? Rupees. That is why I'm asking you to write it down. Whenever you prepare a statement, note down the currency that you're using. RS කියලා ලියන්න. And if you are rounding it off, RS thousands. ලියලා පෙන්නන්න පුතා. අහගන්න. මම ලියප එක පුතේ මෙතනත් කතා කරනවා. Is also explained in LKAS1. එතනත් ඔක කියනවා. හරිද? You have to disclose whatever the currency that you are using. And what are the rounding of you're using? You have to disclose it. Understood? Let's continue. Puta. Accounting ළඟ point එක why money measurement concept is necessary මේක වැදගත් වෙන්නේ ඇයි අවශ්‍ය වෙන්නේ අහගන්න. Accounting aims to measure performance. I think you can understand it. අපි මේක පාවිච්චි කරනවා to measure performance. හරි. And then compare results. හොඳට ලස්සන points තුනක් හොඳේ. Accounting aims to measure the performance, compare the results, and present objective information. Present the relevant information to the stakeholders. This is possible only when a common unit of measurement is used. You can do all these things when there is a common measurement. දැන් අපි පොඩක් අපි ඉස්කෝලේ පැත්තට යමු කොළමයි. හරිද? අපි බලමුකෝ මේක. හරි ලස්සන පොයින්ට් එකක් නේ. මේ බලන්න. Right? Look at this. In your term tests, what is the common measurement you use? You give the marks for the students. ළමයින්ට ලකුණු දෙනවා. නේද? Marks දෙනවා ළමයින්ට. Now that mark is a common measurement. Right? What you can do with that mark? You can compare it with your friends. Right? You can compare it with the last term marks. Got it? හරිද පුතා? Right. ඊට පස්සේ qualitative factors මේ බලන්න පුතා. Qualitative factors may be important, but they are excluded from the accounting records. I never said that the experience of manager has nothing to do in the business. No, that is something that really matters. But what we can do for that? There is no rupee value. You can't measure it. You can't disclose it. So that need to be excluded from the accounting info records. This is one limitation in accounting. But can't help. How can we measure it? You can't. Okay, good. පුතා මම මේ රෙකෝඩින් කායේ වෙනවා. පැටව ටික ආයි බලන්න. බලලා වැදගත් දේ තියෙන උත්තරම ලියා ගන්න. හරි? Right. පුතා ඇත්තම කතන්දරේ when I'm teaching I remember something. මේක මට ලියන්න බැරි වෙච්ච දේ මට සමහරට මතක් වෙනවා. මම මේක සමහරට ලියනවා පුතා සමහරට මම කියනවා. So if it is your chance to write it down somewhere. Okay, I'll guarantee this is a very good note in accounting concepts. I guarantee it. Let's move to the next topic. Core idea of the concept. Now, මොකද කරන්න තියෙන්නේ? The first question. Can it be measured in monetary term? The answers can be two types, yes or no. If the answer is yes, that is recorded. The answer is no, not recorded. Very simple. This is the core idea of the concept of money measurement. Okay, great. Example. Recording of business transactions. Only transactions with a monetary value are recorded. Skills of the managers, employees, right, has value definitely, but cannot be measured objectively in money. Therefore, the skills of managers, experience of the employees are not disclosed in the business. Okay, good. Exclusion of qualitative factors. Look at this explanation. Non-monetary factors like employee efficiency, customer satisfaction, brand reputation, market dominance are ignored in accounting records. Why? There is you can't give a monetary value for these things. Remember, they are really useful. That is something better to the growth of the business. But you can't disclose it in the accounting. Why? There is no rupee value. Okay, right. Measurement of the elements of financial statements in a monetary value. Assets, liabilities, equity, income and expenses are measured and presented in monetary value in financial statements. That is why I'm asking you to write this down. Whenever you write a parliamentary book, write it down that the figures are in rupees. If you're rounding it off, write it as rupees thousands. Why? It is the measurement basis, measurement rule in accounting. Preparation of financial statements, right? All items in financial statements are expressed in a monetary term. It was say comparability of financial information, comparability, how it affects. Using money as a common denominator allows comparison over time and comparison between businesses. හරිනේ පුතා. පොඩක් මේක චුට්ටක් අහගන්න පැටිව. මම කොයිතරම් ලස්සන දේවල්ද බලන්න. හරි. Look at this. Let's say we have a business called A. Business A. මම නිකන් ගන්න හොඳේ. Profit of business A in the year 24-25 is profit of business A 25, okay? 25 is, let's say, rupees 150,000. Business A, okay? Rupees 150,000. And the profit in the year 25-26 is rupees 200,000. Now, do you understand? We can compare these two information and say the profit of company A has been increased. Why? We are doing it with we did this in a rupee value, monetary value measure. Then I can easily compare it. That's what I mean by allows comparison over the time. Comparison over the time explain. You can compare the profit of one business with the profit of the same business the previous. Now look at the next one. So profit of company A in 25-26 is rupees 200,000. And in the same year, we have another competitive business called B. And their profit is 300,000. Now what you can say? You can compare rupees 200 and rupees 300 and say, okay, I have to do something to increase the profit of mine because this is the profit of my competitor. Okay, students. Ready? Right. Let's continue. Here I say, non-recognition of human resource as an asset. Human resource. Isn't it an asset of the business? Why not? දැකලා තියෙනවද අපේ සක්කිය කෙනෙක් ළමයි දැකලා ඇති පුතේ. අර පල්ලෙහා අපේ සක්කිය ක්ලාස් එකේ පල්ලෙහා වැඩ කරන අයියලා කට්ටිය. They are employees, right? But they are really efficient workers. I have seen them working. They love to the business. ඒගොල්ලෝ ඒ business මාර ආදරේ. උදේ මෙනවා, ඒ ටික අරිනවා, right? හරිද? So don't they recognize? Don't those employees are assets of that business? They are assets, but listen to me. It doesn't matter how valuable the employees are, you can't measure them. Why? You can't admit a value for that. Are we clear? Great. Human skills and knowledge are not recognized as an asset. Point. Exclusion of social and environmental factors. Social responsibility, environmental impact, and the ethical practices are not recorded unless they result in monetary transactions. Social responsibility, environmental impact, ethical practices are not recorded. Why? You can't, right, substitute a value for that. You can record the value if you can come up with a rupee value for that transaction only. Understood? This is how I am explaining the money measurement concept of the class. I repeat, this is a very good note. A complete note, Puta. I recommend a complete note. Okay. right? So please make sure that you are studying it very, very carefully. Okay? Hari. අපි යමු ඊළඟ concept එකට. Accrual concept. Accrual concept. පුතා තව පොඩි දෙයක්. හරිද? මෙහෙම දෙයක් මම පුතාගෙන් හෙව්වොත් එහෙම. The underlying principle of preparing financial statements is going concern. පොඩක් ඒක ඕන ලියා ගන්න. Underlying principle of recording business transactions is the going concern. Okay? ඊළඟට මම එනවා. That is accrual concept. Look at this. The accrual concept states that income and expenses are recognized when they are earned or incurred, not when the cash is received or paid. Accrual. It means you have to recognize income when that income is earned. You have to recognize an expense when that expense is incurred. Okay? Not when the income is received in cash or not when the expense is paid in cash. When it is relevant, recognize it as an income or expenses. Okay? පුතා ගන්න. Accounting is therefore based on economic activity, not on cash movement. Because of this concept only, accounting is determined, or it only said that it is based on economic activity, not on cash movement. Cash is just an asset of the business. Okay? Let's move to the why accrual concept is important. Look at this. Accrual accounting ensures correct measurement of profit. Why? You consider only the relevant income and relevant expense. Then proper matching of income and expenses. Right? The last is true and fair presentation of financial statements. හරිද පුතා? පුතේ. core මම මේ ලස්සන පොයින්ට් එකක් මම හොයාගත්තා. මේ බලන්න පුතේ මේ. Right? Income පැත්තෙන්. If you earn it, record it. If you incur it, charge it. ඒ කියන්නේ පුතා මේ කියන්නේ පුතා income එකක් ගැන. If you earn an income, you have to record it. If you incur an expense, that should be charged or that should be recorded. තේරුණාද? මම මේ පැත්තට මම කියන මෙහෙම මේ බලන්න. Income is recognized when it is earned. Expense is recognized when it is incurred. And cash is irrelevant for recognition timing. Understood? හරිද පුතා? Perfect. අපි කරගෙන යමු. ආගන්න. Example and explanation. Recognition of income when earned. That means income is recognized when the right to receive cash arises. පුතා ලස්සන පොයින්ට් එකක් හොඳේ. Income is recognized when the right to receive cash is it arises. Okay. That means pute, when you have done a sale, you are right entitled to receive the relevant amount. You are entitled to receive the relevant amount. Then it is recognized as an income. And the recognition of expense when incurred, that means expenses are recognized when obligation arises. When obligation arises. Then, accrued expenses. Expenses are incurred but not paid are recorded as liabilities. Right? It is recognized as an expense and also recognized as a liability. Accrual concept. Accrued incomes. Income earned but not received. Let's say the relevant sales commission of the period is 100,000, but it is not received. Then how do you record it? First, recognize that 100,000 as an income and also as an asset. Why? You have not received it. You have received the right to receive it. Understood? Prepaid expenses. Payment made for future periods. The payment made in the current accounting period, but not relevant. We are recognizing only the relevant income. Then what we supposed to do? Recognize the prepayment as an asset of the business. Unearned incomes. Income received in advance. You have received the income, but it is not relevant to the period. I told you, according to the accrual concept, we recognize only the relevant income. Then what we're supposed to do? Remove it from the income and recognize it as a liability. Recognition of credit transactions. Credit sales and credit purchases are fully recognized. What is the accounting concept used in recognizing debtors and creditors? The concept? Accrual concept. Why? Look at this point. Credit sales and credit purchases are fully recognized because of this particular concept. Debtors, creditors? Nothing else. That's what happens. The next is, cash movement is not recognized, so required for recognition. It doesn't matter. Do not bother about whether it is received in cash or paid in cash. If it is relevant, record it, recognize it. That is the rule of principle. Distinction between profit and cash flow. Profit is not equal to the cash generated. There's nothing to do with the cash in recognizing the profit. Because cash is completely different with the profit. Point. Accrual concept explains why a profitable business may face cash shortages. Your business shows a profit, but it has a very low cash flow. Accrual concept. The last. Adjustment entries. Adjustment entries at period end. Adjustments ensure correct accrual of income and expenses. Financial statements of sole proprietorship. I am teaching paper marking world you have to teach, right, a new format for, right, sole proprietorships. New format it is the advised format. So I'm going to teach you that will PLC. I repeat, I'm starting to teach the PLCs in the 6th competency, but I'm introducing only the sole proprietorships. I repeat, I'm starting to teach the PLCs in the 6th competency. Right? Right. Concept. Realization. I think you have understood it, right? How many concepts are there? Realization. Realization concept states that apply or directly to the revenue. Directly to the revenue. But accrual was applied to both income and expenses. But this is applied to the revenue. It says, realization concept states that revenue is recognized only when it is earned and realized or realizable, not when the cash is received. Realized means, the term realized means goods or services have been transferred. Right? Always remember, a sale is expected. You can realize the income whenever you have transferred the ownership of the asset. Then only the income is realized. The next is, the term realizable means there is a reasonable certainty of collection. Realizable but there is a reasonable certainty of collection. You can collect it. You have the right to collect it. See, two different meanings. Realized and realizable. හොඳයි පුතා. ඊළඟ එකට යන්න. Why the realization concept is important? Look at this. This concept prevents overstatement of income. Realization never let you to recognize an unearned income, unrealized income. So that will avoid the overstatement of income. The next is ensures objectivity in profit measurement. Ensures objectivity in profit measurement. The next is protect users from anticipated or imaginary profit. It just tells you this concept. Due to this concept, it recognizes on the relevant or realized income. So it is never explained the anticipated. You can put the expected or imaginary profit. It never discloses because of this concept. Because it always, right, emphasizes the businesses to recognize the income only when it is realized or realizable. Understood? The next is this concept is work closely with the accrual and prudence concept. Prudence concept. Okay, good. Situation. Core principle. Situation. Cash received but service not performed. It is not revenue. I repeat, cash received but you are not provided the service yet. Remember, it is not a revenue of your business. It's a liability. Salli hambuna කියලා income වෙන්නේ නැහැ. If your service is not performed, it is not revenue. Understood? බලාගන්න. Goods delivered on credit, definitely revenue. Why? You have transferred the ownership. මේ කියන්නේ බලන්න මේ. May have goods have been transferred. Then it is a revenue. Mere increase in assets value, it is not a revenue. I am clear with you. I think you have understood it really well now. Let's move to the final stage of the lesson. Examples. Recognition of sales revenue. Revenue is recognized when the ownership and the risk are transferred. Treatment of income received in advance. Cash received before earning is treated as a liability. Cash received before earning is treated as a liability. Next. Exclusion of unrealized gains. Increase in value of assets is not treated as an income until it is realized. How do you define income? Increase in assets resulting in the increase in equity, other than those contributions from the equity participants. So it does not, mere increase in assets value is never recognized as an income. You have to check whether is it increasing the equity and whether it is not a contribution made by the equity participants. Understood? Increase in the land value, not revenue, right? Share held, not revenue. Share held increase in the market value, it is also not revenue. Land value ku වැඩි වෙන එක පුතා revenue එකක් නෙමෙයි. හැබැයි පොඩි දෙයක් කියන්නද? මේ දැම්ම කිව්වන්න බයයිත් වගේ. Right? මේකට අපි කියන ලස්සන වචනයක් revaluation of reserves. මේක reserve එකක් ඇති කරනවා. ඒක පස්සේ කියලා දෙන්න. දැනට ඔබ මතක තියාගන්නකෝ. ඊළඟ revenue from services. Service revenue is recognized when service is performed. ඊට පස්සේ revenue from long term contracts. මේ බලන්න ආයිමත් කියන්නද? ඔයාගේ service එක කරන කොහොමද? Service revenue is recognized when the service is performed. When the service is performed. Revenue from long-term contracts. Revenue recognizes based on stage of puta method ලස්සන එකක් ලියා ගන්න. මෙතන ලස්සන එකක් ලියා ගන්න. මෙතන ලියා ගන්න පුතා. SLFRS. හරි. මෙතන ලියා ගන්න මෙන්න මෙහෙම. SLFRS 15 කියලා එකක් ලියා ගන්න. ඔය මම ආයි පරක්කු කතා කරනවා. Long term contract එකකදී revenue එක හොයන්නේ based on this one. This is the major concept, the major standard applied there. Sri Lanka Financial Reporting Standard number 15. It states, okay, if you have received a revenue for a long term contract, you have to recognize the revenue based on the stage of completion. Remember that. Sale of assets. Ilangika. Profit on sale of assets. Okay. Profit on sale of assets is recognized only on disposal. හරිද? අපි ඔක realize කරගන්නේ only when at the real disposal. ඊළඟ පුතා commissions income. Commissions recognized when right to receive arises. You recognize the commission as an income only when you have received the right to receive that particular amount. ඊළඟ මම මේක non profit organization උත්තු ගන්නවා. Subscriptions මේක මතකද දන්නේ පුතාලට? We discussed about this in O levels also, right? අපි කතා කර O levels වලත් හරිද? Right? Subscriptions and membership recognizes over the membership period, not on receipt. තේරුණාද පුතා? ඔන්න අද පාඩම. We discussed about 6 accounting concepts. අපි concepts concepts 6ක් අධිගෙන ගත්තා. මොනවද කතා කරපුවා පොඩ්ඩක් මතක් කරගමුද? Right? මේ බලා ගන්න. I'm moving here to this chart. ලොකු ප්‍රමාණයක් කරා හොඳේ. මේ බලන්න පුතේ. Accounting unit, going concern, periodicity, money measurement, accrual and realization. අපි ලබන සතිය කතා කරනවා ඊටු ටික matching to consistency. ඔක්කොම කතා කරනවා. පුතා, do not miss out that session. Okay, so we are going to wind off the theory class. තව විනාඩි 5කින් ඔහොම meeting එකේ ඉන්න. We are starting the paper class around 10ක් වෙලා නේද? පොඩක් වෙලා ඉන්න පුළුවන් නේ පුතේ. පැය භාගයක් වැඩි වෙලා යන්නේ paper එකට. It's a very short one. So we are starting the paper class just after 5 minutes. Stay in the meeting.